Okay, let's try and get another video done. I think I remember how to do this. New file, and then after that, I need the preview pane. There. Okay, I think that's done it. I've got another list of things that I want to talk about next to me. And it's funny because I do worry about this idea of looking on and off camera. But funnily enough, I was watching a video recently on YouTube where the guy was clearly just sat like this, reading or at least referencing an outline he had, and he would occasionally look back to the camera. And I had absolutely no problems with that. So I don't know why I worry about it in myself, but I'm going to try not to. So I will be referencing this as much as possible. I apologize if there's any weird glitches in the audio. Last time, having this attached to the Apple Pencil meant it made for some weird clicking. This time, I'm going to try and hold it and see what happens. I've promised myself that if I can get an amount of videos made over a period of time, I'm not going to say what that is, but if I can, I will upgrade the microphone to something much better. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. My name's Neil. I'm a professional artist who is now focusing on trying to build my own worlds, trying to tell my own stories, and try and develop my own games. I don't know why I'm looking over here for this bit because this bit isn't written down. But on this channel, I then talk about, document me figuring out how to create, develop, and release these stories, worlds, and games. And in this video, I want to talk about what it is that I'm planning to do, not the specifics. This is not a roadmap. This is not a coming soon. This is a broader picture of what I'm trying to make. I guess saying that I'm developing my own worlds and stories and games does cover that to some degree, but I do want to be more specific than that without being like, I'm going to release this game on this day and this comic on this date and so on and so forth. And the reason I want to do it this way is while I will talk about the specifics of individual projects coming soon, what I'm trying to avoid is a concept of expectation debt, which I had read about a few weeks back, which is the idea that you set these really specific goals, both for yourself and then for other people when you're making content like this. And you end up pressurizing yourself in ways that are unnecessary because you can't foresee everything that might come along. And when you do it that way, you tend to find that when it does get derailed, it really ties into some of those more negative mindsets, like you're a failure or you're a fraud and imposter syndrome and all of those things that I kind of touched about on before in the last video about the mental health side of it. But for me, they are very real, where I reach a point, like I said in the last video, where I got tired of hearing myself complain about things. What happens is I get tired of trying to make this stuff when all I seem to do is fail to deliver over and over again. Now, there is more tied into it than that, than this idea of expectation debt. But this expectation debt concept certainly doesn't help when trying to do that. So I'm really trying to avoid that at the moment. All I want to do is talk about a bigger picture of what I'm trying to make, the overall direction that I'd like my career to go, my creative career to go, my personal creative career, where I would like that outlet to go. And then I will talk about specific projects. I will talk about what it means inside of this broader picture. But today I'm just going to talk about this bigger concept of what it is that I'm trying to do. So why is it that I have this bigger project approach rather than just saying, just going to make a comic? Well, it's because there's more that I want to do than just that, right? And coherence between these things matters more than, it's much more than the sum of its parts, right? I am trying to build what, when other people have asked me, I often say I'm trying to build what I'm referring to as the Fears gaming universe. Now, the Fears gaming universe is, as you'll see when I start to talk about the games in more detail, Fears as a gaming system is meant to incorporate a number of very different types of games that use some clearly similar thematic mechanics, all set in the world of Welcome to Caliber Bay, the world in which Jules exists. For those who know what Jules is, Bazooka Jules, it's the world that she exists in, where everything that she does and is doing takes place. And I want that world to be bigger than just the Jules comic. In fact, I want the comic to almost be supporting to the world rather than these other things supporting the comic, which is the way it was feeling for a long time. And I think the reason it's taken me so long to come around to this is because I'd somehow convinced myself that creating comics was my only worth. And so everything got either sidelined or felt unworthy if I wasn't just doing that comic. So at this point, I want to stay creatively engaged in what I'm trying to do. And therefore, it needs to incorporate more of the things that inspire me as a creative than just writing and drawing the comic. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, if that is a thing that you are passionate about, writing and creating comics, then absolutely it's the thing that you should focus on. But there are other things in creative me that I am equally, if not more passionate about than comics and writing the stories for the comics. The reason this is important right now is because, as I mentioned in that last video, I don't have an infinite amount of time to get this stuff done. Like I said then, look, don't get me wrong. I'm 55 years old. I'm not 85 years old. I have a lot of time, but this work takes time and it's taxing. And while I do have plenty of time to get stuff done, I don't have as much time as I did when I first started saying, hey, Jules is going to make a comeback. So I don't have an infinite amount of time to get this done anymore. Therefore, I don't have the time to scatter my projects far and wide and do a bit over here and a bit over there. I need to get some stuff done and I need to get it released. Because if I'm being brutally honest, and I don't know why talking about money is so hard, but it is because it feels mercenary. It has to support my income as well. It has to. It can't just be, hey, I'm doing this for the fun of it. There's no problem with that either. But if I'm just going to do it for the fun of it and release it as and when and see how it goes, then I also need to go and take on full-time work and stop being part-time like I am at the moment. So at the moment, follow through, getting things finished matter much more than just me saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to do it. It's coming. I'm working on it, even though I have been. And even though it always was, it needs to be a lot more focused than that. So what is this channel going to document as part of that? It's documenting the attempts. My original sign-in used to be, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. My name's Neil and I have no idea what I'm doing. That is not entirely true. Hence why I'm trying to change the channel opening to something a bit more in line with what's actually real. The I don't know what I'm doing part isn't I don't know what I want to do. It's that I don't know how to do it. Yes, I owned a publishing company many, many moons ago. The landscape has completely changed. Those skills completely not relevant in a modern time. They're not completely irrelevant either, but they're not enough to carry over and be like, well, I'll just do what I did back then because things are different. Back then, we barely had the internet. We certainly didn't have YouTube, Instagram, and all of those things at our disposal. So the approach is entirely different now. There's also aspects of developing a game that I don't know, the mechanical aspects of it. I have been a passionate gamer for years and years and years, at least 40, more like 45. But just because I've been a gamer, just because I've worked on my own games, I don't really know what it takes. So when I talk about not knowing what I'm doing, that's what I really mean. There are skills that I lack for certain aspects of the things that I want to do, just on a creative approach. There are certainly skills that I lack so far as the advertising and promotion of this stuff. There are skills that I lack on actually getting it to market. There are many skills that I lack. So when I used to say I don't know what I'm doing, the creative part I do know. Writing and drawing, yep, that bit I've got. Everything else, no, not really. So this channel is built around the idea of documenting that process, the wins as well as the failures. This is what I tried and it didn't work. So don't you do it. Or at least these are the pitfalls that I fell into and they might help you avoid falling into them if you do decide to take the same approach. That is what the channel is supposed to be about, how I'm realistically going about this stuff. And along the way, yes, this is not supposed to be a channel of, I am not trying to just be a tutorials channel. I'm not trying to do that for any specific thing, not for art, not for making comics. But of course, along the way, I will absolutely talk about the way that I work and how I do things. And if people have questions, feel free to ask. And if I can help, if I can give advice, be it art or anything else, I will either dedicate a smaller video to that or I'll have a separate section of the channel where I do deal with things like that. But as far as the content that I am personally trying to make and put out there, it is about this documenting the process. This is not meant to be a sales pitch for what I'm doing. If you love what I'm doing and you want to support that, great. That's brilliant. Obviously, that's what I'm trying to do, but that is not what the channel is supposed to be. I don't want it to just be video after video of me sitting here being like, look at this awesome idea. Why don't you go and buy it? There's a link below. Click on that. It's not meant to be that. The channel is meant to be trying to build a community and an audience through value. And in doing that, I hope that people then do choose to support me. So that's what the channel documents. What I am trying to make is a series of tabletop games, not computer games, and the media that supports those tabletop games. And that does include comic type artwork. Am I going to be doing an ongoing comic? I will talk about that in another video. I do have opinions on that, on whether I'm going to do that. I am not neglecting Bazooka Jaws here. I am not. But what I am saying is there are things that I am more passionate about than sitting and drawing page after page after page of Bazooka Jaws, because that story is big and long, and there are other things I'm passionate about, and I don't have the time to do it all. So yes, that is the bigger concept of what I'm working on. And as I say, tabletop games, they are tabletop games that I am looking at making, and a number of them, because there are a number of tabletop game types that I'm passionate about. And as I say, it will be documenting that process as I go along and showing you all of the ups and downs, as well as showing you, like I say, as I am learning new skills, as I am spotting things, I will highlight other videos on YouTube that will help you learn the same if that's what you want to do. As I learn how to model in Blender, how to sculpt in Blender and Nomad, things I'm trying to do, as I learn how to do like cinematic rendering of environments and stuff like that, which is something I'm learning for War Cradle at the moment. As I start to do all of these things and show those results, document those results, I will highlight how I learned them. And on a purely personal level, I'm trying to get in physically a better shape. And while this channel has nothing to do with fitness or health, I will have a check-in with that and be like, this is how that's going and this is how I got there. The channel is mainly this focus on, look, this is how you create a project, this is how you develop it, and this is how you release it, with the focus being on the things that I am working on, these games and things along those lines. So with that said, what comes next? Future videos will zoom in on specifics of the games, of the world, of the settings, and of other projects that I have. Whilst my main focus is the Welcome to Caliber Bay universe, the Fears gaming universe, if you like, and its supporting media like comics and things like that, there are other ideas that I have. Anybody who's followed my work for a time is going to know that there are other projects that I've got. Steve Huge Ninja Killer being one of them, Swamp Rats being another, but behind those, there are also other projects that I have put sizable amounts of work into over the years. And I will zoom in on those projects and talk about what I plan to do with those. I think when you are making things creatively, you reach a point where no matter how much you love the universe that you're working on developing, you just want a break for a while. And when I have those breaks, I will focus on some of these other properties. A good example of that would be Mike Mignola and Hellboy. He focused on building up Hellboy. And then once he'd done that, he did other smaller things, either that sat inside that universe or were completely separate. And I want to do the same. And I will cover those in coming videos before I just get on to, I am doing this and this is how I'm doing it. I will probably do a video dedicated to Welcome to Caliber Bay and what I'm doing with that. And then I will do another video dedicated to, these are all of the other small individual projects and what they are and the format that I see them being in and where they sit amongst what I'm trying to do. But as I say, right now, I have nothing really locked in place yet. I have a number of videos that I want to create. I have a big list, actually. I sat down when I decided I would revisit the channel and really try and make a go of it. I did sit down and think, okay, what are you going to talk about? Because if what you don't want to do is just keep complaining about the state of things, then you need an actual guided plan, A to B to C to D. And so I do have a list, quite a long list. I have a list of this is what's next, about 10, maybe 12 videos. In order, this is what I'm going to make. But what I also have is another list of about 50 or 60 ideas right now that these are things that I could actually definitely talk about while I'm working on parts of the project and things like that. So that is where this is at. One of the things that I've struggled with this channel is a point like this in a video where I am recording a video and I've reached a point and think, are you even talking about anything at this point? And usually at that point of the video, I switch it off, regroup, and start recording again, and nothing gets finished. But this time, what I'm going to do is finish this video on this positive note of I am working on stuff and this is what you can expect to see soon. And off to the side of me right here, I've definitely got another time lapse running because I'm using that same format again. So I'm going to end this video right here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I do appreciate it because I know that I do waffle. I do try and keep it short, but this video was also meant to be under 10 minutes. And at the moment, I'm at the 18-minute mark of recording, which means it's probably going to be shorter than that because I am trying to at least edit out the ums and ahs and ticks and pauses too much. So it's probably going to be shorter than the 18 minutes, but I don't know by how much because I still haven't ended the video yet. So I appreciate if you've made it this far. Have I covered everything? Yeah, I think so. Thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers.